Nice day for late winter, isn't it? I noticed that some of your bulbs were coming up outside. And that's always my signal. Makes me think the worst of winter is over. I know sometimes that's not the case. So let me just get a pen and we can get started. My pen always seems to sink down to the bottom. Really, whatever it is I'm looking for, right? If I'm looking for lipstick, the lipstick is at the bottom. If I'm looking for my brush, the brush is at the bottom. We really need more pockets inside of our handbags, don't we? Okay. May I put my purse over here? Just get it out of the way. There we go. I'll put it down. Okay, so yes. Well, it's wonderful to finally put a face to a name. I've really enjoyed talking with you over the phone, Mrs. Merritt, and getting a... Oh, okay. Lois. Very nice to meet you. Yes. Well, my first name is Diane. Yeah. Well, I find I'm usually on a first name basis with my clients pretty soon when I work on a project. Okay, so like I said, I have enjoyed getting to know you a bit over the phone and having a better sense of what you and your husband have in mind for these projects. I certainly admire you for taking on 3 projects at the same time. That's a lot. Although it does reduce the total amount of time invested in the project, disruption to your household, and so forth. So, there's something good to be said about that. So, even though we have had a couple of really, I think, productive conversations, this visit today is a chance for you to really begin to articulate for me your tastes as well as your dreams. And that's really what home design is about, isn't it? Anytime we would like it to refresh a room or redesign a kitchen, we're bringing those tastes and dreams together. Just because you want something new doesn't mean that your tastes are going to change. It's just a matter of tapping into what dreams are already there. So, yes, I don't think you have anything to worry about. At this point, we take the lead, so we will reach out to you when it's time for you to make a decision, or when it's time to present you with a plan or something like that. We can work efficiently, but we also take our time when it's important for you and your husband to have time to think it over. So, as I said, I'm going to be on a fact-finding mission today. And that means I'm going to put on my detective hat. I'll ask you lots of questions. I'll show you some pictures and some colors and some fabrics. And I just want to clarify that I'm not asking you to choose anything today. I just want to hear your opinions. Do you like that? Do you not like that? Is that so? It's going to give me lots of ideas that I will then distill into a couple of different plans for you. Okay? All right. So, Mr. and Mrs. Keith Merritt, and we have a proposal number for you and a bid number. And let's just get your address down. 42. Use Street. And I'm sure I've got it in my planner, but what is your phone number? 3122. Okay. And this will be at same address. And this part says, we hereby propose to furnish the materials and perform the labor necessary for the completion of. So we're going to be doing kitchen, dining room, and guest bathroom. So really, some of your most important entertaining spaces. I'm just making a note here about your living room because we want to be able to integrate the design that you already have there with what we do in the living room, or excuse me, what we do in the dining room, in the kitchen, of course. And that integration may work perfectly well with the way your living room is designed now. it might just need a tweak, maybe some new pillows, or maybe some new drapes that tie in to the new dining room. So I've brought some fabrics with me. Again, you're not making any selections at this point. I just want to illustrate a couple of the things that I'm talking about. Okay? All right. So before we get started, I'm going to like to go ahead and schedule our next appointment. And this will be an opportunity for me to sort of pitch back to you a summary of what we've discussed and some of the conclusions that I've drawn based on that. And we'll begin looking at some actual products and colors and things like that, and narrowing things down. So I will need at least a week in order to put together enough materials for our next meeting. Okay. So next Tuesday, same time or different time? 2 p.m. Okay. So Lois, Merritt. Got that down. We should be good to go. All right. So, at our next meeting, I'll be bringing some sample books with me, particularly fabrics, wallpapers, and so forth. But for this first meeting, especially for this year, I've been bringing this industry magazine with me to all of my client appointments. It is a lovely edition of interior design. It's a reflection on last year's World's Fair in New York. So we have some nice displays on different exhibits related to interior design at the World's Fair. I think you'll enjoy flipping through this. So I have a few things that I definitely plan to show you, but if I flip through this too quickly and there's something that you would like to get a closer look or want me to slow down, just let me know. just look at the table of contents here. So the New York World's Fair section starts on page 76. I'm going to start there and then we'll actually go back. Here we go. At the fair. Now my husband is in the Army Reserves. He just left active duty last year. And as part of his reserve duties, he goes somewhere every summer for 2 weeks, either for some sort of training or research, or even the reverse, offering some teaching and training to others. Now, he is in a unit that focuses on broadcasting, and that unit went to the New York World's Fair last summer. So I did get to see some pictures. I really think he should have taken me, don't you think? All right. Some history of the World's Fair in London and so on. So again, I'm going to show you a variety of things, and you just tell me what you think, whether you like it or don't. Again, you're not wedding yourself to anything at this point. So one of the pavilions for interiors featured different states and some of the popular designs that designers are developing in those states. I wanted to show you New York as well as Illinois. So in the New York, right here, you'll see contemporary style. The living room by Jerome Manshaw and Edith McCune stands up to big city living with Barwick creamy carpet, David and Dash crisp white draperies, and Tyre Coggin furniture in colorful upholstery fabrics. What I really wanted you to see in this picture is the design of the curtains. They're very contemporary and very sleek. Whereas in the example from Illinois, right here, open fireplace and a bright red color scheme are features of the family room by, let's see, Richard Himmel and Helen Masoner. Carpet by Bigelow, furniture by Dunbar. So you can see it's a very, it's colorful, but also very cozy dining room. And then we have Missouri East, and this also has a fireplace with a mantle. It's very traditional, with traditional floral coverings on the floor and the fabrics and the drapes. So in terms of contemporary, cozy, traditional, what do those words bring to mind to you? What do these pictures bring to mind? What kind of feelings do you have when you think of that, or if you imagine yourself in these spaces? Okay. A couple more. Here we have a more traditional look from eastern Pennsylvania, but it is more muted, with fewer patterns, fewer florals, but still very traditional. Here in the Northern California district, we get a little bit of Mission influence. And let's see, there was one more. Oh, this one, Washington, D.C. Right here. Can you see? There's a bookcase. I think that warms up the space, but makes it feel like it's a place to live in, a place to relax, to read. We have a much more contemporary fireplace here. And there's the office. Oh, I wanted to show you this for the kitchen. So they had an entire exhibit, or building, I should say, called Formica House. And in this picture of this kitchen down here, let me read this for you. Kitchen chairs, upholstered furniture, Drexel furniture, curtains, drapery, the rug, all by name brand designers. We've got both the kitchen, actually we have the kitchen, the dining room, and the living room beyond. Kitchen in the foreground, and then the dining area right here, and then in the background is the living room. So you get that sort of recognition of the open plan and the need for the three spaces to work with one another. We have some new colorful Formica counters right here. So I want to stop here and show you a few samples of Formica. because your kitchen is part of this project, you're going to be making a very important decision about your countertops. And that is more permanent than, say, even carpet or wall coverings. And so, anytime a kitchen is involved in a project, I often like to start here because this tells me what a customer's attitude toward color and texture is. Okay? So, my little binder here, I have a large collection of Formica samples. You'll find sometimes you'll see the same sample more than once, but what I've done is try to arrange things so that you can see how things pair differently with one another. So for example, if you look at the top here, put together a palette of 3 samples. One is solid, one has a very neutral, subtle pattern, and the third is a wood grain. So this would be an example of something where you could put the wood grain on your lower cabinets. You could put the solid blue on your upper cabinets and use this neutral as your countertop. So I don't want you to get stuck in thinking that you're only making one choice when it comes to choosing your Formica. Okay. This is simply a different color choice. Could be for the same palette right here with red on top, the wood tone, and the neutral print. You'll also notice that this red is considerably more glossy. It's just gorgeous, isn't it? I'm just in love with this one. And then you can see yet another color. Could be with the same palette up here. Or you could introduce a new pattern. This is sort of a linen or grass cloth pattern. It can look very nice with orange or any of the other colors that we have here, the blue. And you can also think, depending on your comfort with color, you can think about your backsplash as a separate part of the overall look. Let's see. Oh, I've got to show you this. Look at that lovely boomerang design. It's got some cream and some dark blue. Again, I'll pull out that same dark blue. This could be a gorgeous combination of counter and upper cabinets, or upper and lower, if you would like something a little bit more unified. Okay. And let's see, a couple of more wood tones. So on the previous page I showed you something that's kind of a medium wood tone. Here we have something that's much darker and richer, something a little bit lighter and more informal. We have all sorts of wood tones that you can keep in mind, that you could use for lower cabinets, upper cabinets, or both if you want a wood look, in addition to whatever you choose for your countertop. And then we have this very contemporary white and black choices for a kitchen. Now here, let me show you this. This is a granite look. And if you use this for your Formica counters, then you are creating a look that is much more expensive. I should say the look looks expensive. The Formica, it doesn't matter which pattern you choose, it's going to be the same. And just a slightly different shade of darker blue. You can see if you had the granite look Formica for the counters and this blue for the cabinets. That's very nice, isn't it? Okay. Now we have some marble options. Some more granite. Let me pull these out for you. So we have the larger pattern. And a much smaller and busier pattern. But even though it's busy from a distance, it's going to actually look like a solid color, the busier the pattern. Whereas the larger patterns with the veins and so on, those veins are going to be visible from a distance. So that's one thing to keep in mind. If you're looking at something and thinking, oh, that's too busy, you'll be surprised when you see it in a finished kitchen. And you'll have an opportunity to see some of these in a larger capacity. Oh, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. I had put this one here because of this. It's a very nice tan solid to go with the design. Very nice. And then a cooler toned option with the veining to go with, say, a dark red. But down here, I've gone with a warmer tone, slight areas where it's tan, and not just the gray tones. So you've got tan and gray here. And that picks up the cool tones of the blue and the warm tones of the wood finish. And so this becomes, if you can imagine, your very good for the bottom cabinets, the counter here, and then your upper cabinets. That is just gorgeous. Okay. Then we have some other patterns. This is a sort of a small hexagon pattern. It's not meant to replicate anything natural, but it is very striking in action. And again, a granite look that you could pair with all of your cabinets, say in a dark blue, or all of your cabinets in a dark gray, or cabinets, lower cabinets in a dark gray, then your counter, and then upper cabinets in a color. Again, very sophisticated. Now here you're going to see again the boomerang option that I've paired with black and light gray for a very different look than the other one that I showed you. And when it comes to options that include more than one cabinet color, I tend to recommend going with the darker color on the bottom cabinets and the lighter on the upper cabinets. It helps to ground the space and then lift your eye upwards toward the ceiling. Makes the space look larger. Here's another interesting pattern. Again, it's not meant to mimic anything in real life, but it's beautiful, isn't it? Again, with a palette that you might choose to mix together. Here we have another color option that could certainly be substituted in any of the other palettes that I've discussed. We have a true red, that dark blue that we've looked at before. It's kind of plum color, black. And then look at this, we just have a feast of different stone looks. granites, marbles, quartz. And we've really got something that will go with any palette. You see things in the cooler tones, the warmer tones, mid-tones, smaller designs, larger designs. Likewise, we have a nice selection of wood tones. If you decide to go with something like this for your lower cabinets or upper and lower, then you can compare different shades, different levels of light or dark. Something here very ashy, cool toned and neutral. And here you see a much warmer neutral. Side by side, I mean, they are quite different, but they're both light and both neutral. And then we have options in the medium range. Much warmer with red tones. And also in a medium range, we have two neutrals that are in the gray family. This one's much cooler, and this one is kind of neutral, in the midway between cool and warm. And if you're mixing these with color, you'll be surprised if you choose something like this. You might think that, say, orange is a warm color, that could not go with this, or maybe blue is a cool color that could not go with this. But because it's neutral, it really does pull both cool and warm tones. So this is really a kind of a universal option that we have. And that's all I've got for you there. So, again, remember, you're not making any selections, any choices. I'm not going to secretly write on my notepad that you've chosen one of these. I just want to know what you think. What speaks to you? What do you absolutely despise? Okay. So, yes, you mentioned that on the phone. So you like the orange, but not too contemporary. So, not something this bright, and certainly not something that would take up, say, all of your cabinets, upper or lower. Okay. So you like the warm tones. Okay. Not shiny. Okay. So something more matte. And what do you think about some of the wood tones, or the stone? we go. Are you? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, so we're not going to go with a stone look. Let's go back to some of our patterns and colors. This is an interesting color. It is both cool and warm. It's warm by nature of the fact that it's red, but it's a cool red. And let's see. If you want to go with something that here we go. This is a beautiful design as we discussed. And if you don't want to go with something that is too bold, something a little bit more subtle could work. And whether or not you're going to bring, a soft orange into your kitchen, or only in connection with the other spaces, this is neutral enough to go in many different directions. Mm-hmm. Okay, you like that? Okay, this one is called Beluga Beige. And that is number 3698. 58. Matte. All right. You like this creamy tone too? What's interesting about this one is that there is a very subtle pattern and texture. Can you see it? And hear it? This is stunning for a kitchen. It's not too bright white. It's just subtle enough, and this design can be run vertically or horizontally. We can do it either way. So if you wanted this on upper cabinets and this on your counter, just look how beautiful and rich, subtle, and the combination could adapt to lots of different other color choices in your kitchen curtains in the neighboring dining room. Well, like I said, you're not wed to anything, but I will go ahead and make a note of what you're liking right now. And this one is from our sculpted collection. And it's neutral white. Not too bright. 918. SP. So you're liking a more subtle color scheme. That's a good way to put it. But not too shy. Unlike that. I'm going to have to remember that. And I think that's an excellent way of describing these as a possible foundation for other choices. Let me give you an example here. So, like I said, I did take notes when you and I were on the phone, and I brought just 2 samples. This meeting is not about making any selections at this point, but I wanted to show you a couple of things. First of all, I wanted to bring something that would illustrate the idea that you could get texture and pattern in something that reads pretty much as a solid or tone on tone. And this silk dupioni in a color that you expressed on the phone that you loved, kind of an orange, peachy orange, not nearly as bright as that sample we just looked at. And this really would just make absolutely stunning dining room drapes, don't you think? I just love the little nubs in the threads. So I wanted you to see that. Glancing through the dining room into the kitchen and seeing upper cabinets in this shade. It looks very nice, doesn't it? These cabinets would allow other things, the textiles in your plan, to shine. And this would be a wonderful backdrop that's not, as you said, too shy because of the subtle texture, which in its own way is a kind of tone on tone because of the shadows created by the texture. And then, of course, the counter in the background allows you to have a little bit of fun in your kitchen, a little bit of glamour in your dining room. Well, the reason I brought this, I wanted to show you what you could do in terms of drapes in the dining room versus drapes in the living room. also brought this beautiful bark cloth. And absolutely stunning design. Again, it's muted, but not too shy by any stretch. I see that you are drawn to some of the more contemporary designs, as long as it's not too shiny. And I think this geometric gets you away from some of the more traditional florals. So I think you could refresh your living room with some drapes out of something like this, and leave the rest of your furniture as is, because you have neutral fabrics there. Right. The solids and the tweeds and the different, as long as it's not floral, you're going to be fine. But introducing this would give you a really stunning refresh in the living room. But look at this. Keep in mind that you're going to be seeing the living room from the dining room. And you're going to be seeing the kitchen from the dining room. And what you can see here in this example is something that is not, how shall I say it? Well, these two fabrics aren't even made by the same company. So it's not that they are designed to go together. And that's my point, that you can bring in different fabrics and textures and patterns and near solid, two different patterns, but the color scheme doesn't clash. And what you end up getting from that is something that's so rich and interesting. It's sort of like a garden. I think the most successful gardens, even if it's a small backyard, is when you look down a path and then there's something that stops the eye. Maybe some hedges, and the path curves and you can't see what's around the curve. That suggests something much bigger than the space that you're in. It suggests that that path meanders for quite some time. And with each turn in the path, a new vista opens up. It's so interesting to think of gardens that way, and I like to think of interior design that way. With each element opening up onto another that's even more interesting. Well, Is your husband going to be participating in any of our conversations, or is this just you and me? All right. Well, like I said, I don't want you to make any decisions. It would be very odd if what we've been talking about turns out to be your final decision. But I don't. I guess I'm not surprised that you like what I brought. I was listening when we talked on the phone. But I just wanted you to see the way that you can pair different fabrics together. So when we next meet, I will have some sample books so that you can see a lot of different combinations. We'll probably stick to a similar color family just because you've expressed this affection for this soft orange, soft tangerine, peach, and even, the threads in this are that darker, almost red, much darker orange. So I'll be sure to put together some samples and sample books that are in this color family, in the warm tones, neutral to warm. I can't get over how nice that looks together. Okay. I love bar cloth. It's got so much personality. I mean, in a sense, it's like this Formica, where the subtle shade created by the texture adds to the overall look, and I think the same is true here. You have shading by way of color, but also by way of texture. And the geometrics, I just got rectangles. When they run into a square, suddenly become a triangle of their own. It's just a very creative look. And I think a very adaptable look. We have these olive green tones, the lighter greens, yellows. We even have some darker gray, medium gray that you might say were in a cooler family, mixed with the browns that are in the warm tones. I could definitely see an orange ashtray making the color really pop in the drapes. So I did get both of those, and the orange soaked peony. And that's the bark cloth. Like I said, I've got lots of other bark cloth samples that you can look at. Let's see, what am I doing? Let's go see here. So this looks similar to the couch that you already have. This is the Decor 64 exhibit. Let's see. Something else you can consider for a living room refresh is a screen. This one is made out of walnut that separates the entrance from the living room. So keeping with your existing furnishings, but adding a showstopper piece like that, as well as new drapes, could go a long way toward making your living room feel cohesive with your new dining room and kitchen. So office spaces. Just going back to one of the earlier images in each state's interior design. We have a bookcase here that can warm up the room, and also some side chairs that kind of get lifted off the ground with the legs, sleek legs without any skirting. Something to keep in mind. We could take off skirting from current furniture and even replace the legs and really create an entirely different look. Yeah, this is the section we've already looked at. Oh, here we go. So here we have some Japanese panels hanging against some grass cloth, and I think the texture of this silk de peony is such that it can remind you of grass cloth. You could get by without doing new wall coverings by using something like this for your drapes. And the silk is a very, of course, Japanese Japanese influenced fabric. So you might decide you want some Japanese greens as part of your new decor to tie in with the dining room. All right. Well, I'm going to leave this issue with you. Lots and lots of different things to look at in terms of furniture design, interior design. You might even get some ideas for the children's rooms that you can do, kind of you and your husband do it yourself sort of thing. And I will just pick this up when we meet again in a week. Okay? In the meantime, as you look through it, let me know if anything stands out to you, if you would like to give me some additional feedback. Let me just jot down. That could influence some of the materials that I gathered together for you for our next meeting. All right. I think I've cleaned up my mess a bit. So I'll be seeing you next Tuesday, 2 o'clock. Okay. I'll have a lot more things with me next time, so I'll probably have to carry in a box. After that, we're probably going to have to move our meetings to the showroom. But at that point, the sky's the limit in terms of your choices. But it's good to actually do some narrowing down first before we open up all of the options. Otherwise, it's just a dizzying experience. All right. Well, enjoy looking through interior design. I could certainly share it with your husband. All right, Lois. Okay, wonderful meeting you in person finally. I'll see you soon.